We're back with Alden Chodash of AldenBoxing.com. This past weekend, Alden, you were in New York City for the Miguel Cotto fight. First of all, do you think the judges got it right?
They didn't get it wrong, with the exception of the one judge that had way off 116, 111. But it was very close to call. There was plenty of swing rounds in that fight, in which the outcome probably depended on, mostly in the last 4 rounds. The fight got close. Clottey could have definitely did a lot more in the 12th round. I think he took the round off, thinking that he already had the fight in the bag, and that was a big mistake. But as it turned out, the cards wouldn't have even shifted in outcome, even if he would have won the 12th round. But it was that close, and he shouldn't have thought he had a comfortable lead on Cotto.
Cotto, from 1 to 10, how do you rate his performance?
Well, HBO commentators would have probably rated it as a 10, thinking that it was very unlikely that he would make it out of the fight, sitting ringside, and the fact that he made it out of the fight was a victory, as well as winning the fight. I would have rated about a 6 or a 7, but of course I don't know how difficult it is to fight through such a severe handicap as Cotto was against Joshua Clottey, who is definitely one of the best welterweights in the world. But from what I saw, about a 6 or a 7. Definitely not one of his best performances. He got hit a lot, but of course many of those attributes from Clottey could be somewhat eliminated by the fact that Cotto was fighting with a handicap from the 3rd round on. You're
saying the cut, you're going to give Cotto a break because the cut affected his...
The cut took up nearly his whole eyebrow. The cut was about the length of his eyebrow, and it was, even though the doctors are advised to stop the fight when blood goes into your eye, doctors let it go on, but it's hard to say. It's difficult to say that blood definitely wasn't going into Cotto's eye because he was having a hard time seeing the right hands for most of the fight.
Okay, so you say we're going to give Cotto the benefit of the doubt because of the cut, but do you feel that Cotto's just not the same fighter after the Margarito bout?
I think if he wasn't the same fighter, he would have folded under the pressure, tried to find a way out of the fight with the cut, and try to argue with his cornerman to try to stop the fight. But clearly he still wanted to go on. I mean, he was circling away from Clottey in the later rounds, a la the fight with Margarito in the late rounds. But in this case, obviously, it could have been heavily attributed to the cut that he suffered. But he showed a lot of heart, and he clearly still wants to be in there, as evidence as the way he fought through the cut and through Clottey's pressure.
99% of the crowd was pro-Cotto. Do you think that factored in his decision to keep fighting? And if the fight was somewhere else, do you think he would have gone the 12 rounds?
I think that could be a factor, that he was fighting in New York. It's very hard to quit when you got the Puerto Rican Day Parade the next day, as well as a huge Puerto Rican audience paying to see him fight, coming all the way from Puerto Rico, many of them. And that could have definitely played a big part. If he would have tried to find a way out, they wouldn't have looked at him the same way. And but I mean, he still definitely has heart. You can't take that away from him. He still was fighting through hard punches from Clottey, plenty of punches from Clottey that were landing on the eye that was caught, that was making it worse as the fight went on.
Do you think he's going to beat Manny Pacquiao this fall?
I think that's an overstatement saying that he can beat Pacquiao. I definitely don't think Pacquiao's punches are going to have the same effect on Cotto as they have had on previous oppositions such as Ricky Hatton and smaller fighters. Cotto is definitely the biggest, strongest fighter Pacquiao's faced by far, and his punches could have a little bit of an effect on Pacquiao. But I think Pacquiao is a little too quick and will outwork Cotto. And if Cotto starts backpedaling in the late rounds, it's possible to see a stoppage, but it's more unlikely than the stoppages Pacquiao's recorded in the past, because once again, Cotto is so much bigger than fighters that Pacquiao's faced before.
Right, so you're saying, you're edging towards Manny in that fight?
Yeah.
Right, okay. And, okay, moving on. This weekend, Vladmir Klitschko takes on late replacement Ruslan Chagayev. But you told me you wish that David Haye was in there against the big Ukrainian. Why?
Because David Haye, he punches like a heavyweight, first of all. He has more speed than many heavyweights, or probably any heavyweight in the top 10 right now. He's quicker, he's more athletic than them, and just based on his attitude, calling Vladimir out, putting that photoshopped picture out to the media, he really wanted to win. He wasn't afraid of what was coming back at him. He definitely would have given it an effort, and based on his previous performances, he's not afraid to get hit. I mean, he definitely could have gotten knocked out, but that's so exciting about it, is that Klitschko also has a questionable chin. David Hayes, quick, and he's very strong, and he's quicker than most opponents, meaning that he will have a better chance to get his punches at Klitschko and probably test his chin for the first time since Lehman Brewster and Sam Peter did a while back, and that would have made it interesting, probably more interesting than Ruslan Chagayev will make it, even though Chagayev is pretty crafty.
Okay, Chagayev did beat the 7-footer Nikolai Valuev. Will that help him in the fight against Vlad?
He's been pretty inactive. I mean, some will reference Corey Sanders as a southpaw that somewhat flat-footed, but has quick hands and might lead Klitschko into some big punches, but Chagayev is not nearly as quick as Sanders. I don't think he's as big a puncher as Corey Sanders.
Or as big, huh?
He's about as heavy, probably not as tall, but I don't think height will have much to do with it. He knows how to fight big guys, but he's somewhat crafty. I don't think he's going to pose much of a threat to Klitschko, not only because he's only taking this fight on probably a few weeks' notice, but I don't think he's quick nor strong enough.
Okay, so you're saying that Klitschko should win easily there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, if you were a promoter, who would you rather promote at this time, Erislandy Lara or Matt Korobov?
Well, based on their most recent performance, Erislandy Lara, Matt Korobov's kind of tricky because, I mean, in his last performance in Madison Square Garden, he didn't look motivated, and Erislandy Lara's defected from Cuba. Every fight's got to be with motivation. He's fighting basically to stay, to make money for himself in America and to stay in America. And Matt Korobov, he's already settled into America and depends more on his power.
Okay. Arthur Abraham has a fight this weekend. He should overwhelm his opponent there. How would you like an Arthur Abraham-Carl Froch fight?
I think that'd be a slugfest. Arthur Abraham is big enough to be a super middleweight, and he's fought up there before. And both guys obviously have a puncher's chance. Both guys have been in trouble in fights. Carl Froch in his last fight, Arthur Abraham has been hit pretty hard before by Addison Miranda, most notably in their first fight. But that'd be a great fight, and I think America's starting to take, and many known television companies are starting to take more notice into both guys, and for good reason, because when they face each other, it would definitely be something notable.
Okay. Should Bernard Hopkins come out of retirement to face one of those guys?
I think he could beat both those guys. I think
even now.
Yeah, I think he'd be better suited to wait for the winner of that fight to emerge to make that fight bigger, because neither guy alone, I don't think, would generate enough money to get Bernard out of retirement. I mean, both guys have about one notable fight on U.S. soil. Both looked impressive, but I think they need a little more, and probably each other, to generate enough money against Bernard to prompt Hopkins to come out of retirement.
They need each other and U.S. television.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, August 1st, Timothy Bradley takes on Nate Campbell. Who do you expect to win that one?
I think Campbell's starting to show signs of age. He had that one big victory over Juan Diaz, but besides that, he is an aging fighter, and Tim Bradley is on the way up. I think Bradley wins because of speed and youth. Okay.
There's talk that Edwin Valero will be allowed to fight in the U.S. and possibly Joe Casamayor as his opponent. You'd like to see that fight?
Yeah, I think he'd have a little too much power, youth, maybe or probably not hand speed, just mostly power and youth to overwhelm Casamayor. And Casamayor's coming off a knockout loss, and that's definitely not the position you want to be, going up against one of the hardest pound-for-pound punchers in the world in Edwin Valero. I think Valero would have a good chance of becoming the second man to knock Casamayor out. But on the other hand, Casamayor is the most skilled fighter that Valero's ever been in the ring against, and based on Valero's technical shortcomings, Casamayor can tie him into knots.